Baptists. And these British Baptists are reasonable people. They say they don't even like the word reparations. In fact, and as you know, reparations have been given to many different people before, including war reparations. And I remember one British Baptist saying they would rather us use the word restitution. So, yeah, it is not a widely accepted word. 1 second, please. Everybody hearing me now?
Yes, we're hearing you before as well.
Oh, okay. Is the call for reparations biblical? Part 2. The PowerPoint should have like a question sign behind it there. What is reparations? Reparation means to make atonement and to find a remedy for gross violations. For Jamaicans, reparations is righting a previous wrong or grave crime with the goal of removing the long-term effects of that grievous wrong or grave crime upon the victims and or their descendants. Last week, we said that reparations was more than monetary compensation. And this is going to be interactive, friends. So let us get talking. What are the other elements of reparations? What are the other elements of the reparation movement? Anybody? It's on the screen, so I can just say it. What's the first one? What are the other elements of reparation? Huh?
An apology.
An apology. We have said that there should be not just the expression of regret, like a sorry, but there needs to be an expression of a full apology, a statement to the descendants of the victims by the descendants of the beneficiaries for the gross violations, for the indignities, the discrimination, the cultural genocide, the spiritual excommunication, the rape and the killing. So it must be a fulsome apology, accepting responsibility, not finding any scapegoat, not saying that, you know, if you have hurt anybody, we are sorry about that, or that is a bad part of our history. Taking full responsibility and saying regret, so much so that they would not want to see it repeated. What else? What are some of the other elements? Monetary, expression of full apology. What else?
Return of artifacts.
Yes, repatriation, return of artifacts. Original documents and historical records that relate to the people of Jamaica. And we are seeing that there's some movement slowly, but even in 1930s, when the British Museum was supposed to send back some artifacts, they sent back replicas and sent us the replicas, and they kept the original. The last month, Germany and Nigeria signed on a call for the return of the Benin bronze taken from Nigeria in the 19th century. So, and most of our history during that period is in British Museum. You know, some of the things that when I was doing my PhD, what I could not find in Jamaica, found it in British libraries. What else? It's not only reparations, not only about money, but return of documents, repatriation of documents and artifacts, fulsome apology. What else?
Exoneration of freedom fighters.
Exoneration of freedom fighters. And when we say exoneration of freedom fighters, we're not talking about asking for a pardon. Pardon is when you do something wrong and there might be some mitigating circumstances and they give you a pardon. This is to say that these persons did not commit any crime in the very beginning. They should not have been charged in the very beginning. They should not have been convicted. They should not have been sentenced to death. They were just trumped up charges. So we are asking for exoneration. Even our books here, our judicial system have these persons are committing crimes. I'm in a WhatsApp group. I think I'm gonna speak. I might speak on it Sunday, I think. You know, it's a well-known Jamaican. I won't call his name because you all know him on TV a lot. He said that Marcus Garvey and Bob Marley has not done anything for Jamaica. I have the WhatsApp message, so I don't think I'm making it up. But you see, people have done such a good job on Marcus Garvey that he's really seen just as a common criminal. But so we need to exonerate these persons. Look at the records and make legal people look at it and see whether these charges were of any merit. What else? We said exoneration, apology, repatriation of artifacts. What else? Reaffirmation of the dignity of victims and their descendants. This might seem like a little tribe, but we still live in a very racial and racist world. Some people still do not believe that Black people are equal to other races. We all are being made in the image of God, and we're supposed to respect the dignity of all, no matter what they have accomplished or what they have done wrong. I remember 7 years ago, I was in South Africa, the Baptist World Alliance Congress, and there was a Baptist minister there, and he confessed that he still finds it hard to see a Black man as his equal because of the way he grew up. Won't even shake their hands. So, still there are persons who have those feelings, harbor those feelings, and we need to, as this part of reparations. What else? Finally, must be closure. Bring closure, it's like reconciliation, so that the victimized will acknowledge that they have received a reasonable, appropriate compensation and other elements of reparations from the victimizers, and bring closure to that, and you move on. All right. Last week, we also discussed the difference in the Bible between restoration or restitution and reparation. Restitution and reparations, I'm saying, are two different things. What is restoration? Restoration is a return to the former glory or original state, or returning something to its rightful owner. Whereas reparations was more than restoring to the form, was more than just restitution. Restoration would be like an eye for an eye. See it in Leviticus chapter 24, where it says, anyone who takes the life of someone's animal must make restitution, life for life, right? Equivalency, equality. Anyone who injures their neighbor is to be injured in the same manner. Fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. Equal. However, we agreed last week that restitution would not be adequate for the remedy for the outrageous wrong of transatlantic slavery and the apprenticeship system for victims. So, in other words, just to say, okay, we're going to give, since the planters got 20 million pounds, we're going to give the descendants of the enslaved 20 million pounds. Now, reparations is the replacement or compensation which exceeds the perceived exact damage, injury, or loss and deals with aggravating damages. And we looked at Exodus chapter 22. So whoever steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it or sells it must pay back 5 head of cattle for the ox and 4 sheep for the 1 sheep. So it is more than just restoring the 1 sheep. The Bible doesn't give any reason why it says so in Leviticus or Numbers chapter 5, verse 5 to 7. But as I said last week, you know, there are emotional damages. You also don't want to make it minimize the damage and the injury or the loss inflicted by the offender. We know that replacement value is never enough in such situations. Even in real life, we know that. And you sometimes take a libel case, you get a certain money for the damage, and then you get aggravating damages. And the consequences of damages inflicted or hurt sustained or loss suffered are really incalculable. There's no way to repay in monetary value the damage that was done. And we've been saying this for a good while. Last week we also said that the enslaved should not get freedom alone, but get freedom with funds. And we see that. Exodus 3, we also said that the principle of reparations is applicable to a person who has served 15 years in prison for stealing and should not be set free empty-handed. Last week, there are some people who make the point that, oh, you know, it wasn't me. I didn't commit those atrocities, so I should not pay. But we discovered that there were Old Testament passages that support descendants of oppressors offering compensation to the descendants of those victims. And there was a return of artifacts to the descendants of those who suffered oppression, although they are not the ones who stole the artifacts. And where did we find that? In Ezra chapter 6, 3 and 8. The king made a decree that taxes be paid by the people to rebuild the temple. These people who were required to pay the taxes for the construction of the temple were not the ones who conquered or abused or oppressed the Israelites or destroyed the temple or robbed the temple of the gold and the silver articles. In fact, as we all know, those atrocities happened under the reign of Nebuchadnezzar. However, the cost of rebuilding the house is to be paid from the royal treasury in full and in fact without delay, although they did not commit the grievous crime. They still had to compensate those who did not, those who suffered. So that argument that it was me is the forefathers don't hold water based on that Old Testament principle. We saw it also in Numbers chapter 5. The Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, any man or woman who wrongs another in any way and so is unfaithful to the Lord is guilty and must confess the sin they committed. They must make full restitution for the wrong they have done. Add a fifth of the value to it and give it to the person they have wronged. But, I hope you're following me in your Bibles, in Numbers chapter 5, I said? 5 to 8. Here it is. But if that person has no close relative to whom restitution can be made for the wrong, the restitution belongs to the Lord and must be given to the priest along with the ram with which atonement is made for the wrongdoing. Therefore, the absence of the person wronged cannot be used as an excuse not to pay restitution. In other words, to say that the people who were enslaved have all died. See this passage? Say, make atonement to the people through the priests. And reparation in such cases ought to be paid to the victims' family members. Therefore, there is biblical precedence that even though the immediate family victims of slavery have long died, the descendants of these victims should be entitled to reparation. That's what we said last week. Any question? Anything not clear? Anything you disagree with? Now is the time to say it, because we're going to move on to another point where we're going to examine Jubilee as a paradigm for reparations. Anything you disagree with, friends? Say it now, because we are building up a case. We're building the foundation. Can't say it was me. Can't say the descendants not around. Yes, Eglon.
Reverend,
I might be, because I wasn't here last week, forgive me. But to me, it seems that the focus on reparation is the focus to a larger extent on a physical transfer. And I mean, if people are racist, they are racist. I don't think that you'll have the reparation as you described, unless the people have a change of heart, unless they accept the people who suffer as their equals. And so I think it's a little difficult, well, not difficult, I think it's significant that the change of character, that has to be a first step. It's like you become a Christian and you change your ways, because until you have a change of heart, then you will always be in this discussion about reparations and you will never get anything. So I'm just saying, to me, it's like we are more focused here on the physical transfer rather than on that apology, that acceptance is what is the first step in reparation, I believe, and the most important step. And if we take the lesson of I don't know how successful it was, but you remember the Truth and Reformation Committee in that Mandela and the South Africans installed in order to try and bring peace and bridge the gap between the blacks and the whites.
I mean, Truth and Reconciliation, Desmond Tutu.
Truth and Reconciliation, right.
Well, as you know, because you're in South Africa too. I don't know if you're in the discussion that where they said that there are many elements in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, but the one element that has not been fulfilled is the one where people should get compensation. They do everything else. In other words, those who committed crimes have been pardoned, and you have other things that have happened, but the compensation to those who are descendants of the victims or victims have not happened yet.
Right,
so it's going to be hard.
But it will be easier if you have that change of heart first, I believe, for that to happen. Because I talk about South Africa, we were on a bus tour, and the guy was a white man, and he really confessed the difficulties he had, and he talked about how he grew up. And even talking to us who were blacks, he had a difficulty.
But I made a point, though, that I hope, and I'm trying to discourage anybody, but this is a Christian pastor who I was saying that although he's a Christian pastor, he's still finding it difficult. And it's like, so it's going to be hard. And sometimes even being a Christian doesn't seem to make the difference. Because even your favorite place in the United States there, you have some white racist Christians. They say that the most segregated time in America is on Sunday at 11 a.m. You have a black church and you have a white church. And the two hardly meet in their church. They call themselves, as you know, black church, and you have the white church, so it's going to be difficult. Those who read my writings, my book Rebellion to Right 20 years ago, you'll see that there was a call for reparations from then. And 20 years later, it still hasn't happened. But it has improved. But I don't want to call that you need a real, genuine heart change, because that is why most persons that representing the oppressors, they always use the word regret. They don't want to use the word apology. They say they regret what happened. So they avoid even the word apology. And as I said, no good, strong, nice Christians said they don't like the word reparations either. They prefer you use restitution. So it is going to be a hard battle, but that's something if you believe that it is biblical, then you shouldn't give up on it. If you believe that the Lord is leading you to say so, say so. Apartheid took a good while to come down. The Berlin Wall took a good while to come down. But it is possible. Slavery ended in Jamaica long before it ended in USA, Cuba, Brazil. But it can happen. So don't give up. Don't lose heart.
Reverend Dick, the part about the compensation, isn't it very hard to put a figure as to how much?
It is hard, but we have a guide. If the plant has got 20 million pounds, you can do the calculations what 20 million pounds would look like today. So that is easy. What we can also do is that you notice that there's like a principle, and in the Old Testament is always 4 times more or sometimes 5 times more. So you probably can use that as a guide.
But Reverend Dick, a lot of people can come forward and say, my forefathers. How are we going to know who is who? That's another hard issue.
There are many hard issues. But it's not that. We flying people to the moon. We're flying spaceships without having astronauts on it, no? So we have the brains to deal with complex problems.
Yeah, because I know my forefather was infirm. I know yours wasn't. So I would get money and you wouldn't get any.
It might not be. The reparation movement is not getting money to individuals. It would be more collective. So in other words, you try to improve the educational system, the health system. You won't know this, but a lot of people die in Jamaica because of the long wait just to get treatment. So by the time you get the treatment, the illness is so terminal.
I don't know, Reverend Dick.
It's not many schools are of the quality of Calabar. We need to make schools have the quality education for all God's children. No child should be left behind. So money can be pumped into that. Some of the roads, from you growing up, Carl, I'm sure you've been here, people talking about want roads, want water. Oh, it's about time now, man. If you travel some places in Jamaica land we love, roads are terrible. The cost of maintaining your vehicle on those roads is higher than those who driving on a highway.
True.
There's much that can be done with that reparation money.
Right, because and just a follow up, Reverend Dick, a question in the YouTube group. Sister Thelma said, given that we are all descendants of the enslaved, wouldn't the reparation be paid to the country.
Right. Right. That is the idea. So not that each
Individual.
person provide money. It's a collective communal thing.
Yes,
Right.
Lord.
Deacon Yasmin?
Yes. I was thinking the same thing about the reparation. I thought about it is that it should be collective, because just as you talk about education system and the roads and health system, yes, we would do well with some of that money to help to improve the conditions. So I agree with that part.
And pay persons better.
Yes.
Part
Yes.
of the reason why people are migrating,
Teachers and nurses.
because it's difficult to see a livelihood here where you have, you know, access to reasonable resources and amenities.
Pastor.
Yes, Deacon Carlton.
Right, but you remember that money that was to be paid. I think last year or something like that to build the prison. You remember that? You remember that that part in terms of from what, England? I think it was UK.
Right. Right.
And then
Right.
what happened thereafter?
Oh, tell us, sir. Tell us. I'm not sure what exactly.
I think the whole matter of the Windrush in terms of persons being deported at that time thereafter.
Yes. Yeah, I'm saying you're giving facts. Well, what is the interpretation? What's the point you're making with that?
No, to say that it was the money was to be used to build prisons, to help to build the prison.
The reparation money?
Well, some money, I don't know if it was a reparation money.
No, it was a reparation. Remember that when he came here, former Prime Minister David Cameron, he said, "Must move on. You forget about that. That's in the past. Move on." And what you should concentrate on, is more. Yeah, you get a gift, like you get some money towards to build a prison. If you'll accept your imprisoned nationals to spend the rest of their jail term here. But you know who made an interesting point? And I'm quoting because I know people, I'm not knocking persons, I'm just giving another perspective. I'm going to talk about Jubilee as a paradigm for reparation. Look at Deuteronomy 15, 12 to 15 in the meantime, because biblical scholar Garnet Roper in his book, This is the Year of Jubilee, printed in 2012, states that Jubilee is about doing unto others as you wish others to do unto you. So his theory is this, that you must ask for forgiveness of our debts, the country has a debt, as we forgive our debtors. We forgive those who and their descendants who enslaved us. Love neighbor as self. So in fact, Roper was based on his understanding of the Jubilee concept. And let me quote the book. There's a moral issue we raise here. It is simply this. We forgive them their debt for the unpaid labor of our forefathers and foremothers, and they in turn cancel our debt. End of quote, page 23. This is a novel approach to reparations, linking the forgiveness of financial compensation for forced labor in exchange for cancellation of Jamaica's debt owed to former colonizers. The exchange of a moral obligation owed by the Europeans would be written off by cancellation of an ecological debt owed by the Caribbean people. In other words, the net effect would be to cancel the national debt with the reparation demand. So that is his proposal in his book. His understanding of Jubilee and reparations, so that you forgive them what the reparations money, and they forgive us the debt, the national debt that is owed. What do you think about that idea? There are other ways of interpreting Jubilee, in my view, which might not link national debt of the Caribbean to the reparations demand of a Caribbean nation. Both can be treated as separate issues and need not be part of the same conversation and negotiation concerning reparation. Somebody read Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 12 to verse 15. And we are seeing now that reparations is linked to the Jubilee. Deuteronomy 15, 12 to 15.
If a fellow Hebrew, a man or a woman, sells himself to you and serves you 6 years, in the 7th year you must let him go free. And when you release him, do not send him away empty-handed. Supply him liberally from your flock, your threshing floor, and your winepress. Give to him as the Lord your God has blessed you. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you. That is why I give you this command today.
So we see that in Deuteronomy, there's a link between the 7th year Jubilee and reparation. In a Jubilee year, it is time for reparations, which includes liberation and a financial compensation. Set them free and give them some. Don't let them go empty-handed. Somebody has read Leviticus 25, verse 10, where we are seeing now, again, Jubilee is linked to reparation, but this is not the 7th year Jubilee, this is the 50th year Jubilee. Leviticus 25, verse 10, please read.
Consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you. Each of you is to return to your family's property and to your own clan.
Okay, so the enslaved were to be liberated. They were to return to their family property and return to their families, their clan, their tribe. So Jubilee signals, somebody has a mic open. I can't see his voice, or Carlton, if he sees who, just say it to the person. Jubilee signals the direction and principles of reparations. It is a new social order to reverse extravagance and greed in order to develop a responsible, sustainable, and equitable society. Debt cancelled because of an high interest rate is a practical way to set a person free. It's a way to compensate people who suffered under high interest rate policy. Crippling debt is not good for families, companies, or countries. And sometimes I know people say, oh, this is impractical Christian talk. But big banks and big companies get waiver. And I said they're too big to fail, so you write off their debts too. So I'm not so sure why when a small man debt is to be written off, and say, ah, it can't be done. It's just Christian mumbo jumbo. So in the Jubilee year, we see that debts were cancelled, the enslaved set free, compensation made, and a return to their family land. In this, the Diamond Jubilee of Jamaica's independence, what practical suggestions would you make for a new social order? Anybody has any idea? This is our 60th anniversary. Have you heard anything that is related to the Jubilee concept to help people who are hurting, below poverty line, can't make two ends meet? Do you have any ideas what can be done? If you are the consultant and advisor to the government, what would you say? Or to private sector? Or to banks? Those who are making billions. Any ideas? All right. You don't want to say anything just in case they hear that.
Pastor, this is Verna.
Let's become Verna.
I would say pay livable wages. I mean, a lot of persons are declaring large profits, but they want to pay minimum wages or very low wages. We have, for example, security forces who they are tying to the minimum wage, working 12 hours per day. And I'm seeing where we had a one at work. She worked for 6 weeks and didn't get paid. So the truth of the matter is, that's one of the reasons why we are where we are at as a country. There's a lot of exploitation.
Yeah. And I remember one of our members, Brother Williams, who owned a security company, Allied. You know, he spoke publicly about improving the working conditions of security guards. Their wages are really low. If you know what it is, you'll be shocked. And the hours are long. And they're
Nothing to my money.
seen as contract workers, so they don't get certain
Good.
benefits.
Right. You have to stand for something.
And you have too many persons like that. We have persons working for certain construction company and they have to work 7 days a week. So those are some of the things. And the powers that be, they all know about it. It's not what we are saying is not secret. And yeah, it's and you know,
Another suggestion.
If crime is our number one problem, you know, you would expect that people who are in crime fighting will be, you know, one of the better paid set of persons, because if you want to deal with that, you know, whatever is a big issue, that is where the money should flow. Dennis?
Yeah, another suggestion would be that we need to find a way to put more resources into education. I know that presently we spend more money on education than any other sector, but we still need to have a greater emphasis on improving education and training, because that's the best way of making our people productive so that they are able to earn more and they are able to be prosperous. Right? Education is a driver for human resource development and productivity. This is where we need to put our focus.
Can I say something?
Professor Errol Miller has been suggested that years ago in one of his work. The education tax was supposed to be used for that purpose, but then supposed to be education tax in addition to what normally would have been spent. But that has not happened. A recent study done by Professor Leonard Patterson that he shared said that, you know, we spend a lot on education in terms of funds, but there is not, in other words, not value for money.
Yeah.
One of the things that we have to do to ensure is that we get value for money. In other words, yeah, that's quite straightforward, because you can sometimes spend more money on a certain thing and you still don't get the value. And another little issue that we have to deal with is that people get good education and they're still not getting a reasonable wage to deal with certain basic things. And that is part of the reason. That's not all, but part of the reason why drug trade and scamming is so attractive. Because they look and say, wait, no, the maths brains from school that, and they can't even buy a bicycle. So we have to look at it holistically. Was that Sister Beverly wanted to say something?
Yes, Reverend Dick. I'm thinking that you have any idea how lawless Jamaicans are? When I came back from Botswana in 2007, I came back literally on the last day of the year 2007. I arrived at Norman Mannion at 5 o'clock on the 31st of December. I was so scared as I started to integrate back into Jamaica. I have never met, I mean, Botswana, the average Botswana is gentle and very soft-spoken. But Jamaicans, for the most part, are very aggressive and lawless. I think it's one of the things we need to focus on because everybody wants to beat the system. So there's a number of things I have in my head. One is the lawlessness. Two, family life. We need to encourage people to get married and have children. This notion that you can be a single parent and do it successfully is a joke. So I believe in marriage, and I believe we should encourage people to get married and encourage our men to be responsible in their homes. And the whole business of accountability, being accountable for what you do. People in Jamaica, a lot of them don't understand what it means to be accountable. You know, somebody hits your car and the first thing he wants to do is escape. Nobody wants to take responsibility. So these are values, I think, that we need to focus on. What do you think?
True. I mean, and you see the lawlessness on the roads. So we really need, and you see how many people dying on the roads.
Absolutely.
They say that the roads are unsafe and also people are speeding. So we have to deal with both things. And isn't it sad, friends, that under slavery, the slave masters did not allow marriage. And now that marriage is available, easily available. Descendants don't want to take it up, you know, and we have to look at that too. We have to look at the concept that people have of marriage. I mean, last year, I was encouraging somebody to get married, and they tell me, say, that's a rich people business. And I didn't understand what they were saying then. But things can be, you know, even to have a, you know, what we call a reasonable celebration for marriage can be costly. I don't know if you noticed that. I think we need a change of mindset, you know. When somebody has a child, and I think Sister Beverly, you understand what I'm saying, they will have a baby shower, whether the child is born in and out of wedlock, and they will be very supportive of giving things towards the maintenance of the child. But you don't normally get that support for marriage. So even the church community should facilitate and encourage it more. There was the mic is open. I think it was a Women's Federation. You remember that in the 1940s, there were a group of lady, forgetting her name now, who was encouraging marriages. And bless the heart of the late Oliver Clark was part of a committee when he was president of the PSOG, and he wanted to facilitate and encourage and promote marriages. But the chairman of it was a strange thing, friends. I won't call any of those persons. They say that not a good idea. They're encouraging marriage. And guess what? All of those persons who were saying that, they were all married. I never forgot that. So we not only must say that we must encourage people, but we must also facilitate it and support it. I remember when I was getting married, there was a small wedding, and a very good friend of mine named Whitaker. He didn't invite him to the wedding. And yet still he gave me a present. I remember the present he gave me, and how long I've been married, but I said, wow. Although I didn't invite him to the wedding, he still gave me a wedding present. So there are many ways in which we can support persons getting
But
married with the lawlessness
Rev-
in society.
Rev- Reverend Dick,
So
but
that's the last thing I'm going to say, that I was doing a Bible study in Maypen for Keswick. And I can't forget, this man was a Christian, and he said, boy, as a contractor, it is hard. If you don't give the parish council a little money, they're not going to approve your building plan. So you have some systemic corruption that adds to the lawlessness. Yes, Carl, you go ahead.
that is what the Reverend Dick, that is, you see, because the system here, mostly government system, it's so much red tape in it. That is where it starts, Reverend Dick. You need, I give you an example. You want your car to be passed, and you go down to the examination depot. And the one you join a long line with about 20 cars, you see a little man, and the man say, where fitness, come give it to me. You give him $2,000, you spend 5 minutes. You go to the tax office, it's sad to say, but that's where it starts. You just say about the parish council, is true. You put in your plan, and believe me, you wait out 3 months, and you don't get it back. And if you put some money, believe me, work wonders.
I
So
know why I was laughing, Carl. I was wondering if you're trying to throw a word on me, because today I went to ask my car fitness, But
I saw you, Rev.
I don't want to tell that story. Leave that
I joke, I didn't see it.
it's structural and systemic. You probably should, certain things should be just easily online. You get through based on how you go online, and some of these things have to be dealt with too. That adds to the lawlessness and it gives bureaucracy a bad name. Because bureaucracy is not really a bad thing. It's just bureaucracy is really to make structures in place so that there's order. But
If a policeman stop you on the road, Reverend Dick, you're speeding, as policeman stop you and then give you a ticket, you quickly give him something, and then don't give it a ticket, then go to court. If it was easy to go to the court and pay the fine and go away, probably you'd have done it.
Yeah. I hope you don't think I'm straying when I make this point. And most of you won't even know what I'm talking about. But you know that you can win, when you win lottery, one of the prizes is $1,000. So you know what that says to me? If somebody find winning $1,000 as a big deal, something is wrong. $1,000? But so many persons to just win $1,000 is a big deal. It just shows how so many persons are, and I'm talking about the, gamblers who are addicts, but some people just trying to get a little $1,000 to survive. So all of these things we would have to look if we want a new social order in this 60th Jubilee.
Sorry, Rev, before we end this discussion, what can we as a church do though? Let's take it to Boulevard, for example, where we're having this discussion. We can identify the issues, but do we have solutions in a real way, real solutions?
Yeah, well, we can advocate for better. We can talk to our representatives. I believe that we know persons we can call to. We can advocate for certain changes. That's how some things start, The denomination also can look at reviewing legislation, reviewing private sector policies. Because some of the policies to open a bank account is just really ridiculous. And I mean,
but Reverend Dick,
I've called them and say, hey, change something. Sometimes they change something, sometimes they don't.
But Reverend Dick, they told
this thing, we also can be part of a campaign to support safety on the roads. Join some of the organizations, join PTAs, join other groups to have an influence. You can even join a political party so that you're on the inside to when they're dealing with their manifestos and their policies. And one of the things, as I said, we had said it at the Ministers for Turner, that you have good suggestion about marriages. how do we support? We can find ways of supporting and people getting married. It has been done in the past. Trying to remember the lady's name in the 1940s. Gosh, anyhow. Yes, Carl, you wanted to say something?
No, what I'm saying, we're not the only group. I'm sure you have other groups earlier than us who thought about the same thing. And Reverend Dick, it's going to be very, very difficult. You have to start somewhere, Sister Beverly. I agree with you. But I'm saying to you, say, boy, how we're going to start it is $1 million question. Reverend Dick has a lot of clout, I know. And he knows a lot of people. So probably we can start with him first.
I think I was just looking at my book Rebellion to Riot. I think it's Miriam Morris Nib. Who was that person? Was in the 1940s? I think so. Who was trying to encourage that, you know? So I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day, so we can't give up. But we must do things individually and collectively.
Randy, could I say something?
Yes, exactly.
Endorse the comment in a general way. I understand Sister Beth pain. We think to address that really have to be individual. We have to change ourselves individually, and we have to change those who we meet on a daily basis, your friends and so, your family. So we have a responsibility, I think, to preach, right? That message in terms of how you treat people and what is the right thing. Carl can learn if him get up early and reach at the depot early and get you in a quick time and him not for himself. So there are different ways to address everything. But it has to be a constant message. And I think we also need to be positive rather than seeing the negative and the challenges. We just persist and just persevere, as Paul said, because we have hope that one day it will change and our character will improve, and we just go on and beat on the door till it open one day. But
we have to be careful though with some of the suggestions, because as I was saying in one sermon, if you just keep dealing with the cobweb and don't deal with the spider, you just will always be there. This cobweb will always come back. So just to say you have to go early. If everybody decide to go early, which it's just like when you remember those days when you have to get a visa, everybody to go early. You see what happens? It doesn't really solve the thing. And I'm really impressed now that you get a date, you get a time, and you go sit down inside, you have to be outside to the elements. And it's just so sad that we sometimes treat each other worse than how the foreigners treat us. So
right. But the
that
point I was making
of getting a time and a day could have been applied long time where everybody trying to rush to get early, and then again it creates another.
But the point I'm making, Reverend, is that there are always solutions that we can find if we look hard enough. And
yeah, but what I'm saying, we have to be careful that we don't find a solution that is not will create another problem. That's all I'm saying.
But that's what I'm saying to you. I'm not saying that we're going to find a solution to create another problem. I'm saying that we look. And
yeah, I'm saying that you must go early to the
No, that's one solution I use, and I'm saying that that's one I use now.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that if everybody does that.
No, but we start with that. When that number get big, we find another solution already. You start today, you improve your condition, and you go on. You just are moving. Never stop. The work never end.
Yeah, but what I'm saying that from day one, you can easily it's not a hard thing to do. You get a time, you go online, not costly, and you don't have to be in any hustle. You know that it's 10 o'clock is yours, or 10:15 or 10:30. It's not, these things are not hard, It can be done. If we start to respect the dignity of everybody, it can be done.
Currently, what I'm saying now is that it don't restrict us from looking to find a solution. No, what you're saying that there's a solution that you would present to the ministry in charge of transportation. So that's it. No, they will find the right body to make the presentation. What I'm saying is that our job is to keep on, because we only can fight at a certain level. And so we make a fight, as the question was asked, how we're going to influence the change. So it might be that because the leader of the church might carry a general position of some members to another body, could be JBU. JBU go to the council of churches, and it progress. That's all I'm saying, that every challenge we have to look for a solution for it, and then we present it at another level, and another level, and another level that goes on. I don't know that anybody have a right answer. I'm also wanting to suggest that the Jubilee suggestion, and this is just what more understand, is it that for business places, you're suggesting that they make a bonus payment then, or is it that they would raise the salaries for a year? What is the response that would be consistent with the Jubilee principle?
You mean what Deacon Verner said? Deacon Verner said that you should have a livable wage.
Okay, so she was talking specifically for the security guards.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
All right. I don't know what the companies earn as opposed to what the guards earn. So I don't know about the business part of it in terms of the risk that they take.
But that's public knowledge, though, you know. That's public knowledge. It is the government sets the rates.
Right, but I don't know what the return is for the owner.
You know what?
Know what the return is for the owners.
Well, if security company weren't doing well, you would have so many. And we know some security companies. So I think you know them too.
Mm-hmm. Remember, the government is the largest employer capital of labor in the country now. And I would suggest that all wages, most of the government wages would have to increase anyway, which is it something they can afford? I don't know. I don't know really.
No,
Good night.
it's not the largest pay of wages, you know.
Not largest payer, largest employee.
The largest single employer, right.
Yeah, single employee is the government.
Yeah, but the workforce is 1.2 million and the government workforce is 120,000. So just 10%. What is the largest single employer?
You mean
well, I don't understand. What's the point you're making, Egdon? I'm not following you.
I'm just saying that we know what the budget is, we know what the government earnings is.
What is the government earnings?
I don't know what the total, I don't know. But I'm saying that is published.
I don't understand you though. You say you don't know what it is, but you're making a statement.
That's
what I'm saying that we say that the people should have a livable wage.
Yes.
We know what the budget is, the annual budget for the country is. It's published. I don't know what it is, but it's published.
Yeah, so how are you going to make a statement and you don't know it, though, Eglon?
No, but listen to what I'm saying already. I'm saying
no,
that
but
the suggestion
do you
was
understand
that
what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? What am I saying?
Yeah, but I think you don't understand what I'm saying.
What am I saying? No, I'm asking you. Tell me, what am I saying?
You are saying that my position is very critical now, is not supported because I can't say something if I don't know the facts. And I'm suggesting to you that the solution to the government's problem, because they're the highest employer in the country, and they have the greatest responsibility to pay livable wages. I'm saying if we are going to make the cry on the government, we analyze the facts and say to government, this is what they should do.
No, I thought you were saying that the government can do better.
No, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know the ways. I don't know. So I can't say they can do better. I'm saying that
what you can start,
presentation.
Yeah, what you can start with though is just to me, that is a godly principle. Every human being should get a livable wage. If you are living below the poverty line, that cannot be the will of God. If somebody is being paid at a rate that they are working, they are what you call a working poor, that can't be the will of God.
But Reverend Dick, what is a livable wage?
God has created this world. And if we're saying that God has not provided adequately for each creature that he has made, so what type of God that would be? So it must be something wrong with the system.
The government doesn't set wages for the country, you know. Wages are determined by the ability of the economy to pay. Right? And
No,
that
that's not the only way it is determined.
That ability is dependent upon productivity. That's what I'm saying, that there needs to be greater emphasis on education so that more people can become more productive. Able to earn based on their productivity. That is the solution to the problem.
No. There are some persons who work very hard and very long and have studied well. That I'm not guessing now. And you'll be shocked to know what is their monthly salary.
Yeah, and that monthly salary is a function of the ability of the organization to pay, and also a function of their productivity.
No, that's not true. I can give you one example in government right now.
No, Deacon Tony.
I can give you one example in government now.
Yeah.
Where a person with a PhD in a particular field is being paid far less than a person with a master's in the same field.
No, but are the jobs equal or greater? What is it?
That's what I'm saying. It's the same field, and the person with the PhD is being asked to orientate the person with the masters.
But the experience.
But hold on, Pay is not based on qualification, on your level of qualification.
I said the one with the PhD.
Hold on. Pay is not based on your level of qualification. It's based on your applied knowledge and put into that job, essentially, right?
But I'm saying that this is not what I'm guessing, you know. The person has experience and has applied knowledge, and the other person doesn't.
Yeah, it depends on the job. Okay.
It also could be, good evening. It also could be, may I?
Yes.
It also could be that one person's desk is far more technical and wider than the other, because you can have two persons doing similar job, but because of the quantum of one desk over the other, there would be the need to pay the person who has the bigger desk more. In other words, any true HR manager, for example, would not definitely working the same.
You know, you're doing what Eglon said he didn't know. What I'm talking about is what I know, you know. This is not, so you're saying it could be. I know all the variables. In fact, I brought it to attention of a cabinet minister, because these are things that happen in government service. So it's not just based on education, on productivity and responsibility.
Well, I know that generally what they would do in a situation like this is to do a desk audit, and then from the desk audit they would make the necessary, let me not use the word reparation, but correction of the situation.
All right, friends. Let
Can I just say one more thing?
No, we're not getting anywhere with this, so let us leave it. I think
Pastor,
we have to
before
say,
you go though, may I just say something? Deacon Townsend said something about government not setting wage, but it does set a minimum wage.
Hold on a little. Hold on. The government is a law. The government sets a minimum wage.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, but government does, it's not saying to employers, pick a minimum wage. There's no mandate. It's not mandatory for you to pay minimum wage. What the government is saying, you should not pay
less than that.
It's a guideline. It's a guideline.
But the point is, I think that's the point Deacon Edwards was making, or Sister Edwards, is that perhaps the minimum wage is not a livable wage. So what the point I think both she and Pastor are making is that whatever the minimum wage is, you should be able to live on it. I think that's all they're saying. So they, we shouldn't have people getting money, getting wages, and they can't live on it.
Yeah, and we really should know what the minimum wage is, though. If we can't be coming on and don't know what it is. I really realize that many persons don't know what is the minimum wage. If I ask somebody's mic is feedback, if I ask somebody how much is paid at pass, I'm a feeling that most people don't even know how much is paid as a part to pass beneficiaries. But the principle, friends, is one which cannot be questioned. But in the government service too, I don't understand Deacon Dennis, he's a former deputy financial secretary. They set the wages for a lot of people within the civil service. You have the 1 stage, 2 stage, 3 stage. So you have ceilings, so they set wages within their organization. So I'm not
government as an employer set the wage rates for all its employees, teachers, police, etc., etc.
Nurses.
And essentially those wages are negotiated between the government and the representatives of the workers.
It's a guideline.
Let me leave that. Let me leave that. Then. But I think we can all agree that as a country, the minimum wage should be a livable wage. And I think the principle, I think even government circles, especially when they're in opposition, they agree with that position, that the minimum wage should be a livable wage. Because I remember I went to Parliament once with that argument. And the JP was in opposition then, and they were very supportive of my position. And there are some persons now who would say that minimum wage should be something that people can live comfortable, when not comfortable, can live on, so that they can have the basic necessities of life. Food, water, shelter, clothes, those are basic necessities. But Jubilee is a very serious thing, friends, very serious, because it is calling for a new social order. And it is always an attempt to uplift those who have been enslaved, whether they sell themselves into slavery or they were enslaved. And they were not to go empty-handed. Look at Leviticus 25, 39 to 41. If any one of your fellow Israelites become poor and sell themselves to you, do not make them work as slaves. They are to be treated as hired workers or temporary residents among you. They are to work until the year of Jubilee, Leviticus 25, 39 to 41. And there, their children are to be released. They will go back to their own hands and the property of their ancestors. If a fellow Israelite is in extreme poverty and sells himself to a Jew, there is a prohibition against permanent servitude, friends. No, is Leviticus 25 prohibition against enslaving your own, and by extension a ban on slavery, those who say that the Bible doesn't speak against slavery? It seems at least this passage saying don't enslave them, treat them as what? Head workers, isn't that the word there? When Jubilee comes, then his family should be released from the debt and allowed to restore their identity through reconciling with the clan, and also return to the property of their ancestors to give security of tenure. There seems to be like a different attitude towards slavery in Deuteronomy 15 compared to Deuteronomy 25. I'd wanted us to explore it. I really don't have the answer for that one. I don't like answering questions which I don't know the answer for. But definitely Leviticus 25 is saying, you know, don't treat them as enslaved persons, treat them as workers. Leviticus 25, 54 to 55 states, even if someone is not redeemed in any of these ways, they and their children are to be released in the year of Jubilee. For the Israelites belong to me as servants. They are my servants who I brought out of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Because God is saying that all creatures, He's His. So we should never treat anybody less than human or pay somebody at a wage that they can't live on. Reparation is grounded in emancipation from Egyptian slavery. This new social order is just not a community of co-workers, but a community of equals, an egalitarian society. Really, it was an attempt to rebalance society through reparation. Also, the children are to be released and not the property of the enslavers, even if the children were born during slavery. The family was to be restored. The family, you know that slavery mash up family. And Sister Beverly talking about family life. We need to focus on family, and some of the things, I don't want to get myself in trouble, but some of the things that some families have to do to make two ends meet put a strain on family life. And you know what can't move with barrel children? But I'm not saying anything more. Reparation was always more than about monetary compensation, but also a restoration of the dignity of family life, access to opportunities and resources. There's a connection between reparations and justice. I think we all agree. The last question, Jubilee is a time for reparations. Is that so? Do we all agree? It gives us opportunity to reflect. It's just, you know, Jubilee is like birthday or anniversary. So give you a time to reflect and say, what is it? What type of society we have? How can we reorder the society? Make it more lawful, more structured for family life, livable wages. You know that they say that Jamaica is one of the places that have the widest income disparity in the world, it is said. In some societies, you know, there is a specific structure that, say for example, the lowest paid worker, the highest paid workers might not be able to earn more than 50 times the lowest paid worker. But if some places you have a free for all, they can be getting all 1,000 times. So it's not just about productivity, friends. Sometimes it's the structures that we put into place, and they are just like how they have affirmative things now where they have to have a certain number of women in management or on the board. You can put certain structures in place in terms of compensation. We can deal with this another time. It's coming a form of reparations, but we don't have time to discuss that because I hear talk about scamming as a form of reparation. We had started the abortion debate, but because of August and his Jubilee and independence and emancipation, I thought that we would do a series on reparations. And we have done these things on reparations. Next week is a prayer meeting. In September, we will return to the abortion. The first 3 studies will be led by our brother Jeremy Taylor, looking at the history of abortion and the legal aspect of abortion. He's a leader within the Bethel Baptist Church, son of Reverend Dr. Bertel Taylor and the senior deputy DPP and a QC. And I would like to return to reparations, finish it up in October. October, we're thinking about heritage and all of those things. Is there a final question on reparations? They do reparations on justice and all that in October.
Pastor, not reparation, but I don't know if you saw the latest statistics. The UN released something called it's Human Flight and Brain Drain Index. Have you seen the stats?
No, no.
Guess who is highest, second highest on the list?
Barbados.
Jamaica. The second highest on the list.
Wow.
It's called Human Flight and Brain Drain Index. Jamaica, 9.1 out of 10. I don't know if that's good or bad. Perhaps remittances make up for whatever. That's my
we need a system though. That's what I'm saying, you know. You need a system where when these people are inviting persons to come to work overseas, they must think of the family. And I don't think that is happening. So it is a holistic thing. I remember Booth. Don't know if you remember Booth. She's a member of the church. She married to Colin. She's an accountant. She was an accountant in England. And you know, accountants, auditors, they would send them to different countries. And their policy is that they don't send married women to do those audits.
Look at that.
You're single, you get it, because they think about the family life. She would have to get special permission to get those job placements, you know, for a month or 3 months. And she would ask if her husband could come, you know. So that's the point I'm trying to make, you know, that you can put systems in place that will deal with livable wage, family life, lawlessness, the bureaucracy, road safety. And, you know, I've joined the road safety transport operators, trying to do certain things, trying to chair the pension committee also so that they have a pension. About 40 of them have been killed this year already, or if they live long, you know. So there's so many things that we can be part of and advocate for change. But if we keep thinking that, you know, things is all right, and you know, we get these nice terms, friends. It's not so for a vast vast number of Jamaicans. It's really difficult, and you know, that's why I said that if we are talking about reparations, we must have to look at ourselves too. That how do we treat prisoners who have served 15 years for stealing when they leave the prison system? You know, and we have to look at how, the idea behind reparation is that after the period, whether they sell themselves to slavery for debt, are they going to leave empty-handed and just continue this persistent poverty and generational poverty? I give you this last story because I don't think people. I sat there, was talking to this man, middle-aged man, and he said to me that his grandmother had this land and she sold it to a developer and she got 4 units from that development, 4 nice units. And because of that, he is comfortable. A third person was there in the argument. And he said, you know, I had a grandmother. She had this whole heap of land. Fell in love with this man. Gave this man the land. Man take the land and leave her with children. And he, as a grandchild, life difficult for him. So sometimes the choices we make can perpetuate poverty, or making a good decision can generate wealth for you and your descendants. And we have to look at those decision making and those structural problems in society and in companies. All right. Carlton, you have the final
Yes,
say.
Pastor. Okay, so thank you very much, Pastor, and thank you, brothers and sisters, for partaking in this vibrant discussion, very, very vibrant discussion this evening about reparation and other matters, and that we, we as brothers and sisters have to start the change. It cannot be to say the other man out there. We have to start the process of lobbying whenever we can, to have some of these matters, some of these issues be addressed by leaders of the country. And so as we close off, yes,
as you close off, let me just read this last verse.
Yes, go ahead.
Highlighted, Isaiah 58:6-7. What it says: "Now this is the kind of fasting I have chosen, to loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke. Is it not to share your food with the hungry, to provide the poor wanderer with shelter? When you see the naked, to clothe him, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood." We'll discuss that further next October. Close off.
Okay, Pastor. Thank you. Let us pray. Lord and Heavenly Father, we thank you for this discussion this evening. We thank you, O God, that we delved into other matters concerning reparation through the Bible, O God. And given the examples, the practical examples, O God, and the suggestions made by us as brothers and sisters, O Father. Lord, I pray that when we leave here, O God, we'll continue to exercise that right as Jamaicans, O God, to exercise that change, O God, to others, and even suggest to others, O Father, the way forward. So, Lord, continue to be with us and continue to bless us, O God, as we pray. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Amen and good night.
A benediction. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance and give you his peace. Amen.
Amen.
Remember, Sister Tamlin, catch your funeral Friday. God bless you all.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.